Our mission is to rebuild families one at a time. We are not a large number generating organization. We never will be. If we ever get to the point to where we're so busy that we can't handle it, our plan is not to build a larger Rachel House. Our plan is to build another Rachel House.
Maybe in Canada. Yes. And it's doable. It is doable and it is affordable and it can be done.
And we need to find people who are crazy enough like us to move into that house and deal with this. Hello. Was ist los?
Oh, there you go.
We do things, we have 4 levels of service, as we call it. One is somebody calls us up and wants information. Secondly, we'll do an individual case review. We'll talk over a person's situation, try to help them understand what's going on, and essentially do some hand-holding. Thirdly, we'll work with legal and mental health professionals in order to formulate a plan for reintegration that they can take to a court. And fourthly, of course, actually run the reintegration programs at Rachel House, in our home. Hello.
You need to talk German to it and then it'll work.
Do I threaten this with Texas justice?
He's the Texan. I'm the mutt, the confused mutt.
All of our programs are conducted at Rachel House, as we put it here, deep in the heart of Texas. We live in a home. It has bedrooms like ordinary homes. It has a kitchen. You'd be surprised how many things happen in that kitchen.
Oh yes.
Maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but a lot does. And here you see the room with the sofa. Well, one of the things that happens in that room is we look at videos, and we talk about videos, and we talk about issues that can be difficult to absorb. But they do it. The kids do it. These kids are smarter and more flexible than many people think.
Much more resilient. You know, one of the biggest hurdles that we face in the system is that well-meaning psychiatrists, particularly psychiatrists, they love things called psychotic breaks. And they think that every time you transfer a child from a dotty, wacky parent to a sane, healthy parent, the child's going to have a psychotic break and it's going to be blamed on them and they're going to be sued by their medical malpractice and all that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. We have children come to Rachel House and they do have mini meltdowns. And in fact, it's an essential part of the process. But the mini meltdown is not a psychotic break. Trust me, we've never had a psychotic break on our hands. And we've had 60 children, 61 now, children go through the program. What happens is that they make one last desperate attempt to show that they are resisting the parent. So they'll go and have a hissy fit. For example, let me tell you the story of Katie and, what was their names? Katie.
Ellie.
These two, bless their hearts.
Well, no, this is
okay, yeah.
Kylie
and Kelly. These two, bless their hearts, these children I went up to pick them up in a court in New Jersey, brought them back to Texas. In the plane on the way home, they were so bonded that when one of them would take off, they were holding hands. So when they took off their jackets, they would take their jacket off, holding hands, take one sleeve off each, hold the other hand, and take the second sleeve off. They were so bonded in this symbiotic relationship that their mother had created that one would eat, they would sit together and hold hands, and one would eat with the knife and the other one would use the fork. Left hand, right hand. They were that bonded together. 1 month at Rachel House, they were making a birthday cake for their dad. They were teasing him about wearing a pink shirt and telling him pink shirts are for real men. This is the guy that was supposed to have sexually abused them. I forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, children are resilient. So, oh yes, I remember. So one evening we're just having a hard time with the girls. And we said, well, you know, what's going on, Katie? Like, why? Well, we're only going to be here for 30 days because Mommy said that we're only going to be here for 30 days and then we're going back to home. Oh, really? Oh, well, let's see what the judge said. So we take out the judgment. These children are 9 and 10. We're very age appropriate and very gentle. I'm a very warm, loving person. And he is too, believe it or not, even though he's Texan. So, well, these are the heavy-duty cases. And so there's a psychologist on site at that point with me. And we sit down, we say, well, the judge says, you're going to Rachel House for an indeterminate period of time. Now, I wonder, what does that mean? Katie says, I don't know. And I said, well, you know, I think what it really means is that the judge is expecting you to stay here until your behavior changes. I'm going to be here forever. That was her instant response.
After that happened, they went into their room and threw a fit. Oh man, it was a good one. Crying, not a tear, crying, acting out, the whole 9 yards. And within 15 minutes, it got really, really quiet.
This is where, you know, my heart starts to flutter.
And we're sitting there saying, oh my. They came out with their jammies on and they said, okay, we're ready for ice cream now.
You know, this is the psychotic break.
People are afraid that when a child is transferred, that there's going to be trouble. There's going to be trouble. And it's been our experience that as soon as they get away from the alienator, it dries up.
Yeah.
They'll pitch a fit in the courtroom. By the time you get to the airport, they are being civil.
Yeah.
People ask us, well, you know, what do you do when the kids go off and they hide in their room or something like that? Do we yell and scream and beat on the door? No. We have 2 solutions. 1, bake brownies. 2, make popcorn. Works every time.
Olfactory, sure. You know, they're going to come out of the room sooner or later.
These are the same 2 girls, if you notice in the previous photo.
Yeah.
Same 2 girls. And what we considered to be a huge step forward was the day they started arguing with each other.
Yes. Individuation, what Michael Bone was talking about. It's so important. Once you see the children individuating, once they start to fight with each other, we say, yes, yes, we're making progress. And those of you who are professional among us may find that a little bit surprising, but if you've dealt with these children as long as we have, you'll know that it's a really good thing. The more they fight, the better. Yeah, yes?
Do you have the parent there in the house?
Absolutely, from the get-go.
I don't see the parent in the picture.
He's right here.
He's right there. That's the parent, here.
She can't see that.
Oh,
That's a target parent.
that's the target parent. Okay, you've got to know something else.
That was you.
That's me, and oh, thank you.
He's much better looking than I am.
Now watch it. Okay. No, from the get-go, you've got to know that we do not take custody of the children. The children are in the care of the custodial parent. Now, they may be screaming and hollering and wreaking bloody murder on that parent, but that parent is the legal custodian of the children. So we're not a foster home. We're not a group home. We're not a clinic. We're not a medical facility. No. The parent has custody. And that is the key to the legal framework under which we operate. Let's get through our presentation and we'll take questions, I promise, at the end. Bob, we need to move along really fast.
Oh, wait a minute.
So
This is the heart of the matter. Every day, the family, we do not fix children. Yet, nichevo, we do not fix children. We rebuild relationships between children and a target parent. Parenthetically, we have found, almost without exception, that because they have been separated from their children, target parents almost always need help in refreshing their parenting skills. So we work with both sides.
And that's a big part of what we do. Parents who come to us are typically, first of all, they have no money, they're exhausted, they're worn out. After a couple of days, you know, of sort of hyper adrenaline rush, they flake out and go and sleep for 16 hours. Well, the beauty of Rachel House is that there are people on site all the time. And I should say that besides Bob and me, who are the sort of benevolent, or not so benevolent, house parents, we have facilitators. Now, facilitators are people who usually have a bachelor's degree of some sort, maybe in human relations, psychology, education. Sometimes they'll have a master's degree, but more likely they will be bachelor level, but they will have done an apprenticeship with different families, and we've observed them in operation. And these are people who have a natural gift just to interact with parents and children. There's no magic pill. The message tonight for all of you is there is no magic pill. Our job is to normalize this whole crazy world of parental alienation. Make it as normal and as down to earth and as real as possible when it comes to solutions. And, you know, I go crazy with all the debates and furor about, is it a syndrome? I don't care whether it's a syndrome. Years ago, when we started Rachel House, we said, we are not going to focus on terminology, we're going to focus on behaviors. And we advise all parents who are working with the courts, don't get tied up in the labels. Leave it to your attorney if he needs to, but most of the time we just say focus on the behaviors. And the worse the children's behavior is, the better it's going to be for you in the long run. Sometimes you have to wait until things get so bad for the courts to take any notice. But in the meantime, like I said, we focus purely on the rebuilding of the relationship, and we just let the labels wash over our heads and don't go there. Because we deal with courts all over the world, United States, Canada, different countries, and different courts have different, you know, different strokes for different judges, whatever I'm trying to say here. Anyway.
This is where it happens. It happens at the kitchen table. It happens on that sofa in the family room. Every day, there is some time spent doing what we call program work. And that's where we go through this process of addressing issues that need to be addressed, but we do it in a non-threatening way and in a way that involves the entire family. People write down their activities and feelings. They have a personal journal. A lot of times this means teaching them how to keep a journal.
There is a hidden agenda here, I have to admit, because, you know, when the children go back, they are in a good situation. They've rebuilt their relationship with the parent to the point that they are safe. They're getting along with the parent. Most of the children are actually hugging and kissing and totally normal. But when they go back to the environment they were in before, and if they see the other parent, they, oh my, Rachel House, oh my God, there's bars on the windows and they have pit bulls guarding us, and we didn't have even one nice day, and it was horrible, and Pamela she was so bad. She's such a mean person. And Bob, ugh. And that psychologist fella, oh my God. So they're on and on about how bad it was at Rachel House, but we have the journals, we have the pictures, we have the videos. So, you know, they can do what they like, but and unfortunately, these children are like a pendulum. When they come to us, the pendulum is completely skewed to one parent. What we do is pull it way back to the other parent. Somewhere along the line, you hope that in that child's life, the pendulum is going to reach the middle ground. And our job is to give the parent and the child the tools to go there. But changing a family cannot be done, I'm real sorry I have to say this, it cannot be done in 4 days. It just can't. I get real passionate about this because I see people spend a lot of money for expensive programs and they don't work in the long run. Our job is to steer the Titanic. And when you steer the Titanic, you know, you turn the steering wheel or whatever you call that thing.
Throw the wheel over.
Throw the wheel. And it takes like 20 miles to move the Titanic. And to change an entire family paradigm, you don't do it just by sort of, you know, a brain of a child is not something that you scrub clean. People can call it deprogramming or whatever they care, but what you're doing is rebuilding that child's sense of reality through simple, everyday tasks. Yes?
This thing about the Titanic is important because at Rachel House, we have people there, I think the shortest has been maybe 2 weeks. Actually, there was one that was 5 days, but that was so exceptionally unusual. Usually it's 2 to 4 weeks. We had one as long as 6. What we do is throw that wheel. But you know, that big ship wants to go on its own way a little bit longer, and then it just starts to move. The real change in the family paradigm happens after they go home. And we continue to work in what we call a helping hands mode, sometimes for a year, with local mental health professionals. This is one of the tools. You've probably seen this before.
The I statement.
The I statement. When you spit in my eye, I feel insulted because you have done something that's absolutely horrible, and I'd like it if you really wouldn't do that so I don't have to put your lights out.
Oh, well, yes, right, darling.
It's a very useful way of addressing very sensitive issues in a non-threatening way.
But it raises another important point, and that is that the families that come to us, the children, are often so deprived of the normal, basic skills of family communication. Because these children have been living in a world that's black and white, as the experts call it, a dichotomous world. They have been just living in a world of everybody's either for me or against me. They have been living with a parent, typically in our situations, and remember, I'm not talking about all alienation, I'm talking about the worst cases, where the parent that they're living with is psychologically seriously disturbed. And we can go into that, I'm not going to go into that. But, so they have no skills. They cannot communicate their feelings. And so a lot of the work that we do is simple, I feel. The children don't know how to express their feelings. We have wonderful tools that we use. We have a thing called Lemons to Lemonade, which I recommend to everybody. It's done by Texans, and it's a 45-minute video that we divide into 5 different segments, and it talks about how do you express your feelings in divorce. I recommend it highly, by the way. Lemons with a 2, lemonade.com. And programs like that help the children to communicate. Then on the other hand, you have a parent that is completely traumatized by the experience that they've been through. Some of them have been in jail, God help them. Some of them have been searching for years. They're completely exhausted. And we give them all so much support. The parents get a lot of support in their day-to-day life when they come here. And again, they need help communicating with their children. So a lot of what we do is really simple, basic stuff. He's telling me I talk too much.
Hello.
We have a code. He wears his boots, his cowboy boots, and when he taps his boots, it means I've gone too deep into the psychobabble.
There's more to it than that. If you really want to know, I'll tell you later. We talked about program time. We've spent a lot of time talking about what happens with regard to program time, but that's not all there is to it. If that's all there was, people would just be mush after about a day and a half. We're living in a home. What do you have to do in order to live from day to day in a home? Well, one thing you have to do is fix dinner. Oh, you also have to clean up after. Games. We've got a stack of games, and there's always something in there that people want to do. People, they want outings. You know, we live in Central Texas. We can get to SeaWorld, we can get to Fiesta, Texas, we can get to a water slide place over near, not far from Austin. And it just so happened that these people want to go horseback riding. We went horseback riding. We do not pick the outings. We talk to them and say, what would you like to do? And the family then becomes involved in deciding what they want to do. Duh. They have to talk to each other. Just
a technical point is that when the parent comes to us, and I always say to parents, you know, when alienation comes in the door, normal parenting goes out the window. I'm sure you can relate to that. And one of the things we notice is, for example, and we all have gone through this, is that when you try to discipline your child and you're an alienated parent, even the slightest discipline is perceived or interpreted by the child as being aggression. So what we do in the beginning is we take a very active role in the beginning. We're sort of like surrogate parents. But very quickly, we subtly and gradually, day by day, transfer that authority to the parent, so that by the time they're going home, we know that that parent can control those children and be safe with those children. What are we doing here?
We're going to animals. We like
Oh,
animals.
our therapets, our wonderful therapets.
You know, these kids have been to therapy so much. They're just waiting to see the white coats. They're waiting to see the office. And when they walk into Rachel House, the first thing that they have to do is to survive the onslaught of the golden retriever that wants to give them a big kiss. They find the cats. I love this picture. I love this. Look at the cat. They also meet local Texans.
This is a gentleman of great color called Bones, because he plays the bones.
He played the bones.
Well, we have plenty more like him.
And right on the property, we've got plenty of time for plenty of space for people to go out and have a small bonfire if they want.
Right now we're under a burn ban, so we can't do that.
We can't do that right now.
Now Bob's going to talk a little bit about the technical stuff. He was an analyst for many years, an intelligence analyst, and he loves things like figures and facts, and he's really good at this.
These are the kind of things that make political science majors itch. We knew that people were going to ask us, does it work? And for us just to say yes isn't good enough. But we also know that we are so small and our base of experience is growing more and more each year that, you know, it's just not possible to do a full-blown peer-reviewed study. So what we did was we said, how do we do this in such a way that clearly we're operating at arm's length? How do we come up with measurable indicators of success? And we decided to use observable behavior. A success means that a child is at least speaking to the parent and they're able to work through conflicting views constructively using non-threatening techniques.
That means a lot when you have kids who come in and their only idea of communication is to get a pair of scissors and say, I'm going to kill you.
And we've had that happen too. The thing of it is, we keep our expectations low. So if they are at least talking to each other, they've got something they can build upon when they leave. Has the parent regained enough authority to be able to control these kids? And we can tell that by the way they behave every day.